day, fellas. We are throwing it back. Me versus Gucci, $15,000 game. A part of the $1,000,000 series in Madden 21. But again, the Madden don't matter. It's the skill that we're discussing here. And if you see my previous videos versus Strap God and Danny, make sure you see them. But the whole concept behind it is talking about anticipating the adjustment to the adjustment. Now we're going to talk about the downfall of the anticipating the adjustment to the adjustment. So it's important to get both sides of it. First drive here versus Gucci. Again, the play I'm showing here, this is PA shot wheel. Again, this was the best play versus 2 men under. So the outside receiver is running an S post. And generally, these type of routes are really good versus man. If it's not an S post, it'll be a skinny post. We'll beat man down the deep middle because, again, and 2 men under, the safeties are splitting out wide towards the sideline. So it's going to leave open that deep middle for any sharp cutting routes like a skinny post. This is after the first drive. I scored on PA shot wheel on the first drive. So it's already in his head like, okay, this guy likes PA shot wheel. And the day before Fancy played, he scored on PA shot wheel like 7 times versus Ghost over the deep middle. So I'm going into this game thinking like, okay, I'm going to run PA shot wheel on the first drive. Just get it in his head. He's seen Fancy play Ghost. He's going to adjust to it. I scored on it on the first drive. I ran it twice on the first drive, and I scored on it on the first drive. I ran it here on the first play, PA shot wheel. Playmaker the drag. So I'm already thinking, all right. So I've ran it 3 times now. It's in his head. He's gotta. I get this voice, man. It's just like anticipate, adjust, anticipate, adjust, and I'm hearing it, and I'm liking what I'm hearing. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, okay, there's no way Gucci is gonna run, 2 men under. Keep running 2 men under after he's getting popped and popped and popped on it. 2nd and 14, I'm like, okay. PA shot wheels in his head. I've ran it 3 times. There's no way he gives up the deep middle. Think about situationally. 2nd and 14, you're kind of looking to, now that you got me behind the chains, you're kind of looking to protect deep a little bit. So I'm like, okay, this is a perfect situation for him. I'm anticipating him to protect deep. I've ran PA shot wheel majority of my play calls, so I'm like, all right, you know what I'm saying? He's not going to give up the deep middle again. And then I said, okay, what I'm expecting him to do here is, again, I'm anticipating the adjustment to the adjustment. I'm trying to make the adjustment for him. So if I'm playing my boys, this is a phenomenal play. If I'm playing somebody I've never played before, this ended up being a bad play. And you'll see what I mean. But so what I'm expecting him to do is, or what most people would do, if you've watched trips or pivot strips, most people are going to say, okay, I'm not giving up that deep middle anymore. I'm going to take this strong safety. I'm going to put him into an inside third. I'm going to take this free safety. I'm going to put him into a deep half. And I'm going to take this outside cornerback over here. I'm going to put him into an outside third and kind of play, a cover 3 type of shell. So that's what I was anticipating. So I said, okay, I'm expecting some sort of cover 3. And I just want to get half my yards back. So that's why I put like a out route by Randy Moss, because those out routes were really good versus the deep blues. Because generally, again, it's deep half, inside third, outside third. And then 21 is going to be man up Dion. Then 89 is going to be manned up as well. So that's what I was anticipating. So I said, okay, I'm expecting some sort of cover 3. And I just want to get half my yards back. So that's why I put like a out route by Randy Moss, because those out routes were really good versus the deep blues. Because generally, again, it's deep half, inside third, outside third. And then 21 is going to be man up Dion. Then 89 is going to be manned up as well. And again, you put those outside thirds just to help protect against, because you need the inside third to protect against the deep middle, that skinny post. And then you need that outside third to help support that inside third, because if you have an inside third and just a man up on the outside, then you're going to get burned over the top now. So that's why I was expecting them to put the outside third, inside third. So I'm like, okay, that's what I'm expecting here. When you're adjusting to the adjustment, you got to start combining concepts. So I'm thinking, okay, the 2 possibilities here are what I've been saying. Or even if he calls man again, I'm going to have a play where I can attack man at different depths. I'm going to have the playmaker drag underneath, and I'm going to have the crossing route going over the middle of the field. So this is what I do here. So I put Deion Sanders on a drag for the playmaker. And then I put Randy Moss on a crossing route. Because, again, these crossing routes are really good versus man. They get those sharp cuts. So they're going to beat man coverage. But another surprise was, and people were like, oh, man, he user rushed you. You got, like, the crosser wasn't open. So on the first down, again, the inside zone got blown up, which never happens. And then on the next down after that, the crossing route, it had no shot of being open here. And again, that's where the knowledge gap came into play, where he knew about the Randy Moss, the corner route, and he knew about if you man align utilizing the speed alignment, it stopped the crossing routes really effectively, and nobody I played had known about that. So I'm like, okay, it's fine that I see post snap here that again it's going to be just man coverage again, and again I'm shocked. This guy was insane. He left open the deep middle. He didn't care. I beat him on that play so many times, and if I had called PA shot wheel again, it's easy to look like when you're watching as a viewer. It's just like, man, why didn't you just call PA shot wheel again? You're just expecting him to do something different. Like it hasn't been working at all for you on defense, and he calls it again. I guess he did mix up the user rush, but again, I was able to avoid the user rush fine. It was just more the fact that I'm looking at this crossing route right here, and this crossing route just never gets open. And that's because, again, he knew about the man aligned by speed, which I was like, okay, so that takes out that out of the equation, because on this meta, I wasn't able to you didn't have the abilities on the tight end where you could run those crossing routes versus man, and then now I can't throw the crossing route as well. And that ended up being why I lost the game is this play. I think this was the biggest play of the game right here, getting stopped here. But as always, guys, it's a good games, bro, forever. Go and take your free skills evaluation on the MaddenAcademy.com.